Welcome back to another edition of Cult Pop, and today we've got a special one. We're at the 2007 Penguicon, and we've picked an all-star lineup for you. First off, we're going to talk with Elizabeth Bear, an amazing writer of 7 or 8 novels that are all spectacular. She's also doing a lot of writing on the web, and just somebody you're really going to want to get to know. Next, we're going to take a visit over to Karl Schroeder, a good friend of the show and an amazing writer in his own right. And he's got some incredible books out there, and he's going to tell us about Son of Suns, a real spectacular sci-fi novel. Then we're going to visit with the folks from In Zero, a locally produced science fiction program that's being shown throughout the state of Michigan, but produced, directed, and acted all by Michigan folks. A really, really neat science fiction production, so I think you'll like that. So stay tuned for an action-packed Cult Pop.
Sure, my neighbors Jean and Louise, they may be superheroes with superpowers, but that doesn't make them so super at saving energy and money. I mean, I like them and all, but when Jean uses that power vision to cook dinner,
Honey.
or when Louise or Starbright tries to save a little on the lighting bill.
Mom, a little light.
I may not be able to harness the power of the elements, but I save significant cash and help the environment with appliances, electronics, and windows featuring the Energy Star label. And I improved my home energy efficiency with insulation. My thermostat? Watch this. I'm just kidding. It's programmable. I don't have to lift a finger to save on AC and heating.
Mom, Dad's making fondue again.
So discover your own energy-saving superpowers. Go to ase.org/consumers.
I am with award-winning author Elizabeth Bear. Elizabeth, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you. I'm really enjoying being here.
An amazing amount of work you've put out so far, and we're going to talk a little bit about all the books. But first and foremost, Carnival is the newest book out there in paperback.
Yes, it is.
Getting rave reviews. Tell us a little bit about it.
Carnival is a spy thriller disguised as a science fiction novel, or possibly science fiction novel disguised as a spy thriller. It plays with a lot of sort of the classic tropes of science fiction, gender relationships, what we refer to in the genre as a planetary romance, where you go to another planet and explore it and learn a little bit about it and the ways in which it's weird, and hopefully that illuminates our own world in some manner. Essentially, the backstory of the book is that about 150 years ago there was a eco-terrorist plague. Nanotechnology virus was released and ate all the white people. And there was a colonial exodus to other planets at this time, people fleeing the revolution afterwards. And this book picks up as the current residents of Earth are attempting to reach back out and reclaim some of these lost colonies. And the lost colonies don't really want to be reclaimed. And this is about 2 diplomats who are sent to a world called New Amazonia, which is so named because it's a jungle and also because it's a matriarchy, and the women there have a sense of humor. Now,
Elizabeth, Carnival has been getting rave reviews, and we definitely want people to pick that up, new on paperback. Your Jenny Casey series just wrapped up. And you put out 3 books in about 2 years there, so that was pretty incredible.
3 books in 1 year, actually.
1 year.
But
and this
I'm
was
not
amazing.
the record holder.
Well, this was an amazing, I'm just starting this, but amazing the feedback I'm seeing on it. People really seem to love it. Tell us a little bit about that series for people that might like the little harder sci-fi that you wrote there.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that you refer to that as harder science fiction, because I was kind of interested in, it's not really cyberpunk, although it's been described that way. It's sort of a world, the aftermath of cyberpunk, but the world might be 30 years after a cyberpunk style society, and living with the wreckage, the results of that. And then it sort of widens out, and there's a little bit of space exploration and some aliens and a first contact story and a artificial intelligence who's a lot of fun. I won't give up too much about him, but he's one of my favorite characters.
Out of all the feedback I've been seeing, people absolutely just seem to love these 3 novels, so I went and picked these up first, then saw that Carnival was coming out. You've also got Blood and Iron out and a follow-up to that coming out.
Yeah.
Tell us about
those
that.
Those are fantasy novels, not science fiction. They're modern day fantasy set in New York City, and they discuss or focus. The conflict they focus on is the age-old conflict between this group of magicians who call themselves the Prometheus Club, whose self-appointed job is to protect humanity from fairy. The twist is that they're told from the point of view of the bad guys, the fairies.
Now, do you find that you have a different fan base with the fantasy and sci-fi, or does it cross over?
There's some crossover, and I'm very bad at establishing consistent voice, so people who seem to like one of my books may not like other ones. On the other hand, I have some fans who are very, very willing to let me experiment, and I'm very grateful for that.
Okay, Elizabeth, we've just got a couple minutes left. You've got a book coming out from Subterranean Press, and you've got a big web presence, a couple of different websites and whatnot, where people can get a lot of information about your books and whatnot. Why don't you tell people about that?
I have a very web page that badly needs updating, like almost everybody else, and I have a live journal, a blog, Matasequala at LiveJournal, or matasequala.livejournal.com, which I update sort of obsessively. Because my workday involves sitting with a laptop on my lap typing away, and it's sort of the water cooler. You know how you get up and walk around and you want to talk to somebody, so I have go post on my blog and talk to people that way, and that's really wonderful because I get a lot of feedback and conversation.
I liked your website a lot. I think it's a lot of interactive stuff, and most of the authors that I read now I seem to really like, because you get a feel for who they are via their website.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun to be
blog.
able to talk about stuff that's not your work. I talk about television shows and politics and science and internet games and all this.
Well,
occasionally writing, but
Elizabeth, I'm familiar with a lot of your work with Subterranean Press and a lot of your short fiction that's gone on both in Sub Press and other magazines. Why don't you tell us about some of that work?
Okay, well, specifically, the funny story about how I started working with Subterranean Press was I got this wild idea to write what I thought was going to be a completely unsaleable piece of work. I had to write a vampire story. And unless you're writing in a specific subgenre of paranormal romance, vampire stories are a very hard sell. And this thing was endless. It was a quarter of a novel. It was 25,000 words. And I posted in my blog, I'm writing this thing and I love it. I will never be able to sell it. Got up the next morning and I had an email from Bill Schaefer, who's the publisher of Subterranean. And he said, send me the vampire story. I'm like, you're not going to buy it. So I sent it to him and he bought it. And it was the cover story for Subterranean 5.
Right.
Which led to him asking me to do a collection of stories set in that universe, which is New Amsterdam, coming out in May. And then asking me to do some columns for Subterranean, which, basically he said just rant and be as outrageous as possible.
That's been in the magazine and the online magazine now at
Yes.
subterraneanpress.com, which we're big fans of here at Cult Pop.
Basically, he said, I want you to pick fights, so.
And you're doing a good job, I guess.
I'm doing my best.
Subterranean Press and the small press, I like to talk to authors about that and how much they help get some stories that you won't have an opportunity to see. A fan gets to read
Absolutely.
and explore more authors' work via these sub-press. Do you want to say some words about that?
I'm very supportive of the small press. My first short story collection was published by Nightshade Books, which is another small press. They do about 30 titles a year. And I have a novella coming out next year from Monkey Brain Books, which is another small press. And I'm going to keep working with Bill at Subterranean, probably on more New Amsterdam stuff, and I don't know, what else. I think that they're a vital. It's sort of like the club scene in music. They're a vital, thriving place to experiment, to learn more about your craft, or if you're already writing, at a they publish some brilliant stuff that's just not commercial enough for the New York houses, and I don't know what we'd do without them. The genre would be much, much poorer.
Now, didn't mean to interrupt,
No,
but
go ahead.
Elizabeth, you've written the hard sci-fi that I talked earlier about in the You've written the fantasy.
Yeah.
You've written vampire novels. In your future, what else can we be looking for?
I am very, very bad at staying on topic. I have 4 books coming out this year, which is mostly due to the fact that I was writing for a long time before I published anything, and now I have a backlog. There's the Mosaic novel or short story collection from Subterranean Press, which is 1900s alternate history with vampires and forensic sorcerers. There's the second book in the Promethean Age, Whiskey and Water, coming out from Rock in June, which is a modern urban fantasy set in New York, London, and mythical places.
And a fine drink, too.
Yes, absolutely. And possibly my favorite book title.
Yes, I like it. So I like
It's a
it
great
a lot.
title.
I'll purchase it just for the name alone. I like
It's a great title, if I do say so myself. There's Undertow, which is a science fiction novel from Bantam Spectra. And then I have a book coming out with Sarah Monette called A Companion to Wolves from Tor, which will be out in October. And that's what we call a high mud heroic fantasy, which is a heroic fantasy with beard lice and starvation as opposed to pretty ponies and princesses.
Gotcha. Good. So a more realistic
Yeah.
one. Well, Elizabeth, I want to remind folks at home, people who are watching this interview and thinking, wow, I really want to learn more about this lady, and I'm going to want to find these books. Remind folks at home, they've seen the website, but tell them the website one more time so they can look up the info.
My personal website is elizabethbear.com, which is not updated as often as it should be. And my live journal is metasequala.livejournal.com.
Okay.
And there's a link to that off the actual website.
Right. And both websites you've seen throughout the interview here. So, Elizabeth, it's been a pleasure interviewing you. I look so forward to jumping into these novels now. I was a big fan of your short fiction.
Thank you.
And I've read your stuff in Sub Press and your articles, and I like to go to the the web zine now at the website, and I've really had fun reading your
And there's
stuff
a lot of stuff available for free online.
Right, and I really like that. That's at Subterranean Press that we really like to promote here. So, Elizabeth, thanks so much for taking the time today. And it was a pleasure to meet you.
Appreciate it.
And folks, we want you to stay tuned for more Cult Pop.
They came from every corner of the country, from small towns and big cities. But they all shared one thing in common. They belonged to a family called Marines, a tough and determined few dedicated to protecting everything we hold sacred. And still, they come. Celebrate the 225-year history of those proud few who have earned the title Marine.
I'm with award-winning author Karl Schroeder. And Karl, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
I wanted to congratulate you on the wonderful success of Son of Sons. It's getting wonderful reviews, Starlog, Sci-Fi Magazine, web reviews, just wonderfully critically accepted. So congratulations on that. Wonderful, wonderful novel. First of all, I've been telling a lot of authors when I see their books with art this beautiful, breathtakingly beautiful cover. And I think great art helps sell a book and gets your great words into people's hands. Tell us a little bit about this first in a trilogy, Son of Sons.
Well, Son of Sons is the beginning of, well, it might be more than a trilogy now. It's a series I'm writing, which is basically swashbuckling adventure in the old style. It's been called a planetary romance, which takes us all the way back to the 1930s and Flash Gordon almost in terms of its style and its sort of just the joy of pure adventure fiction. But I've also updated the whole genre to the 21st century by using some cool new ideas. Son of Sons is a nautical adventure in a world without gravity. And the things that the characters get up to and the situations they get into are just spectacular.
Now, very much you mentioned the 30s and the Flash, a lot of the pulp, the early pulp classic feel with the adventure novels and stuff like that is carried on in these type of novels, in this novel and some of the other works similar to this. Is that what you're going for? Is that early fun feel, the swashbuckling adventure, the every minute on the seat of your pants, fly by the seat of your pants adventure?
I wanted to have my cake and eat it. I wanted to have a world where I could have a sword in one hand and a ray gun in the other and justify it, using the cold logic of 21st century science. And by and large, I got that. There's no ray guns, but there's a very nice sort of steampunk feel to this book with wooden ships and boarding parties and pirates and all the rest of it. But it's also set in a spectacularly high-tech environment. Very briefly, it's a 5,000-mile diameter balloon floating in deep space with nothing in it but air and a few floating rocks and bits of water and stuff. And people have made their home in this thing, and they make their own artificial suns. And the hero rides around on a jet engine with a saddle on it and handlebars, you know. And it doesn't really get more gonzo than that.
Right.
And that's exactly why I wrote it, for pure, sheer fun.
Karl, you've got a vast amount of work in science fiction, and hard science fiction in particular. And Son of Sons kind of seems to have stepped it up a notch in the fun factor. Now, tell us a little bit, if you can, without it's hard with a novelization, tell us a little bit about somebody who goes and buys this book, what they can expect. What's the storyline?
Well, the story is very simple, and it's a story of revenge, betrayal, and an adventure on the high seas without the high seas.
Right.
It's a young man whose parents were killed, who is going after revenge against the man he believes killed them. And that man is the admiral of a navy of the nation that conquered Hayden's. So he's going after a pretty prominent target, and he worms his way into the admiral's household, only to be shanghaied and dragged off on an adventure to the other side of the world by the very man he hates the most.
Excellent, excellent. Now, Karl, I know, as I mentioned earlier, you've gotten rave reviews. It's been a critical success as well as a financial success. And now you've already got a second novel coming out this summer. So viewers watching this will be able to pick up Son of Sons, read it, and then within a month or so be able to purchase the next book in this storyline.
That's true. But I didn't want to sort of commit trilogy in the usual sort of way of having one long story that's simply chopped up into three. Mm-hmm. I wanted each book to be able to stand on its own. And so the second Virga book, Queen of Candace, is an adventure story with one of the characters who's in this book, but not the same story arc. And it's got a slightly different tone. It's even sort of more wacky in some ways. There's more humor to it. It's a rather ruthless young princess cutting a swath of broken hearts and broken heads across the nations of Virga. And again, pure adventure, pure fun, but in a slightly different way, and something you can read on its own.
Excellent. Karl, we're running kind of short on time, so I want to remind people, when you have such a nice website, and you can go to the website and learn all about the vast number of books you've written. How many books are you up to, by the way?
Only 6 or 7 at this point. But
well, that's only 6 or 7. That's pretty amazing.
I've got a few in the pipeline, yeah.
Excellent. Tell people about your website. They'll be seeing that on the screen. Mm-hmm. And then also the fact that you do some really interesting scientific writing at a couple of other websites. Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's scientific writing because I'm not a scientist, but my primary website is www.kschroeder.com. And I have a weblog that I run off that, so do that /blog. And I, on the main page, talk about primarily my science fiction and just cool ideas and cool science that's happening. On the weblog, I talk about some of the more philosophical notions and weird science that I deal with. I also do some foresight work, which used to be called futurism, for primarily for the Canadian government and clients like that. And so I talk about that kind of thing too.
Yes, I've read some of the stuff you've written on that. That's really, really interesting, some of the things you talk about. Well, Karl, I thank you so much for taking the time. I wish you continued success. This is the second time we've been able to sit down with you, and both times have been a joy, so I thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to seeing you in the future. I look forward to reading more of your novels.
Great.
And stay tuned for more Cult Pop.
How far would you go to help someone? Would you go to the end of your driveway? Would you cross a street? Would you cross an ocean? To a place place 6,000 miles from home? And how long would you go? Would you go for a week? A month? A year? Would you go for 2 years? Would you go if you could use your knowledge to teach someone, and in the process, maybe learn something yourself? Life is calling. How far will you go? Peace Corps.
I'm here with Susie Janik, and she's here to tell us a little bit about one of my favorite new local science fiction series, In Zero. Susie, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us here today on Cult Pop. In Zero has gotten a lot of notoriety here locally for a really neat, locally produced science fiction series that is airing around town here. Tell us a little bit about In Zero.
Well, In Zero is the story of a courageous courier with a mysterious past. He lives in a post-apocalyptic world now that is populated by magic users, aliens, and warring aristocrats. He has a package to deliver for the world, and everybody who lives in this world wants it. It's hope. So
I've been fortunate enough to see the first 5 episodes, and they're really fantastic. Really enjoyed them. And now I understand you're up to at least episode 11 was going to be airing here at the convention.
we aired 9, 10, and 11 here at Penguicon. We are preparing to show the finale of Season 1, Episode 12, May 1st at the Main Art Theater in Royal Oak at 7:30 p.m. We got all 12 episodes, and we are gearing up to shoot our feature-length episode of Episode 1 in May and June.
Oh, fantastic. Now, what folks are probably very interested to know is that it's entirely locally produced, local actors, everything done from the catering, the acting, everything is local people involved in television, film, or just having an interest in it. Talk a little bit about that.
Everybody who's involved in Zero right now, it's for one thing, an entire volunteer crew. We have all Detroit actors, Detroit makeup artists, Detroit set designers. Everybody here is local, and we're all coming together to prove to the world and to Hollywood that you can make a series and you can make movies in Detroit, that the crew base is here, the fan base is here, and the acting base is here, because we want them to come to Detroit to stimulate the rest of the artistic community. It gets an outlet for the artistic community. Okay,
Susie, without further ado, let's take a look at a little bit of In Zero, and why don't you tell us what we're going to see?
Okay, what you're going to see is the first scene from Episode 1. It involves Thames, our courier, and he's trying to do a run, and he comes up against the infamous Wolves gang, which you find out in this scene is related to him.
I wasn't born the day that everything changed, but my mom told me about it. 2/3 of the world's population vanished without a trace. And how everyone born after that day, people like me, could no longer have children. I also wasn't there the day that the others arrived, fleeing their homeworlds in hope of a better place. Maybe they found it. Maybe they didn't. All I know is that they brought with them many of the old ways that we all thought were just myth and legend. Now, in a world without a future, someone has to deliver hope.
Great.
Sometimes I feel like I'm starting to die. It gets harder and harder each time. Feel like the rope is tightened its grip. When will this dream begin? So I'm not coming home. I'm not coming home. No, I'm not coming home till
Is that him?
No doubt about it.
Stay where you are!
Great. Not likely.
Alright, what do you want?
I think you know what we want.
Come on, guys. You know better than to shake down a courier while he's on the job, alright? Blood would not look good on those jackets.
Can you handle these kids, or shall I call for help?
No, I think we have an understanding.
An understanding?
They're just having a bit of fun.
Fun is about an inch from getting them shot, Maddox.
And then what? Are you gonna shoot me? You Degs, get back to the warehouse. He wants to see you.
Tell him I'm busy.
The priest is gonna want to hear that from you. He misses you. Mom misses you too.
Holy crap, is that a little girl?
Hey, Earth to Thames.
I gotta go. I've got a package to deliver.
Okay, Susie, as I said earlier, it's just an amazing show. That is a really neat beginning to a fantastic season of In Zero. Tell folks where they can see throughout the summer. I believe there's going to be some opportunities to see, or there's also a website that people can go to for information in regards to In Zero.
We have two websites. The first is thebrokenfuture.com. The second is myspace.com/InZero. We will be setting up screenings throughout the Metro Detroit area, and we will put them on the website to update people. But right now, episode 12 will be the last episode of the series shown at the Main Art Theater right now for this year.
Okay, well, Susie, I think you folks are doing a fantastic job.
Thank
It's
you.
something really to be proud of. It's a great-looking show. It's not some rinky-dink-looking thing. It's a well-told story, well-acted, and the visual effects are really, really good. I'm very impressed with it.
Thank you.
And I really hope a lot of folks take a look at this interview and take the time to, track you guys down. DVDs, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention up. DVDs are also available for
DVDs
sale.
are available on the website. They are episodes 1 through 3, episodes 4 through 6, 7 through 9, and as soon as we show episode 12, we'll have 10 through 12 available. So there's an entire season available. We will have a box set this summer.
Okay. Well, Susie, thank you so much for taking
Thank
the time
you
to be
very
with us
much.
on Cult Pop. We wish you continued success.
Thank you.
And stay tuned for more Cult Pop.
So, how was school today?
It was exciting. We learned about fire safety.
You know that fire's not a toy.
Sure, Mom. Everybody knows that.
Okay, well, what else did you learn?
If there's a fire, we should never use an elevator, and we should check to see if the door is warm before we open it.
And don't worry, Mom and Dad made sure that our building is protected with a fire sprinkler system.
Look up for safety. Whenever you're in a high-rise, be sure that it is protected by fire sprinklers. This message brought to you by the National Fire Sprinkler Association.
Okay, that wraps up this episode of Cult Pop. We don't have a lot of time because this was a action-packed one today. We recommend if you want to meet incredible people like this, we were able to meet them at this year's Penguicon. There's going to be another great Penguicon next year, 2008. You can find out about them by going to www.penguicon.org. It's a great time, a lot of friendly people, and we recommend you take the time to come next year. We'll see you next time on Cult Pop.